Welcome everyone to the Zywave Apex Spotlight webinar. We launched Apex last week as the first AI platform built specifically for insurance distribution. Today, we'll dive into why we built it, what that means, and why it matters for our agencies and carriers. Now let's meet our presenters. Rose Hancock and Sherry Clevenger, our Vice Presidents of Product Management, will be leading today's session. I'm David Levengood, a product marketer here at Zywave, and I will be moderating. During this webinar, we are going to take a look at the forces compressing growth today and how technology has been shown to close that gap. We'll then turn to the Zywave Apex AI platform itself and the paths it presents for users, a live look at Zywave Apex MCP, and then an overview of Producer Agent and Advisor Agent. We'll wrap today's session with the platform recap and some Q&A. So with all of our housekeeping items addressed, I would love to pass the mic over to Sherry to kick us off.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, David. So 3 things are happening all at once. Premium growth has dropped from 5.2% to 2.3%, so the market can't carry revenue growth on its own anymore. Talent is scarce. Insurance employment sits at 1.4%, yet half the agencies are trying to hire, and half the workforce retires within a decade. For carriers in the room, that's not just an agency problem. Fewer producers means carrier appetite must get placed by fewer and more capable people. And tech is fragmented. 61% of insurance professionals touch 4 or more systems daily. These 3 forces show that growth is going to have to come from within your organizations. So the rate tailwind has slowed, but talent is harder than ever to find and rapidly leaving. And the technology you use today isn't helping. So zooming into the agency side specifically, 53% of new producers fail to validate. That's big. It takes 12 to 36 months to ramp one, and 60% of producer time goes to the administration of things instead of actually selling and advising their clients. So not only is it hard to find talent, but it's harder than ever to validate as well. It's worth holding on to as we go that producers are the distribution engine for carriers' plans. When this engine breaks down, the exposure isn't only to an agency and only an agency problem. Companies are finding ways through. They aren't working harder. They're working differently. Tech-enabled producers under the age of 35 generate roughly $65,000 more in new business a year and carry books on average $168,000 larger than their peers. And that's a major data point. So this means that insurance veterans retire. It will be these tech-enabled producers that are driving growth for their agencies, as well as their carrier partners. So another point, tension with agencies and carriers. 70% of insurance organizations are actively testing AI, but fewer than 22% have actually gotten that AI into production. So carriers and agencies alike are stuck in pilot mode. And for a lot of organization, that's a governance problem as much as a technology one. And with that, we're going to turn it over to Rose, and we're going to talk about what you came here today to learn about, right? The Apex AI platform.
This isZywave's Apex Platform for insurance distribution. There's $100 billion in annual quoted premium, 100 million plus proprietary data elements, over 3,600 agencies underneath a team of agents accessible through MCPs, chats, and purpose-built UIs. It's one platform which provides multiple systems of actions, an AI that just doesn't know or how to respond and helps you grow your front office. This is how we're going to help you get out of pilot mode. and help you with your 3 things you just talked about. So some of you are thinking, I already use AI. I use ChatGPT, I use Claude, I use something, and we're just going to stick with that. Well, these generic chatbots help pull in the open internet. They look impressive. Their output, but the output is unvalidated. And the insurance, that's a compliance risk. SoZywave's Apex agents domains are trained into our 30 years of insurance intelligence instead of insurance specific, validated, and compliant. We have over 4 million business records, 85 million households, 15,000 expert content assets, 1 million loss insights, and over 1,000 connections to carriers. So this really helps bring in that insurance intelligence that you need for your everyday. So the way to do this is 2 different paths. And this is where Apex is going to help you. The first path is connecting Zywave into your AI stack that you're working today through our Apex MCPs to activate all the insurance intelligence inside of your AI workflows your teams are running. So thinking about connections right into what they're doing. Or path 2, we've built specialized UIs that have AI agents directly inside of the Zywave products that you're already using. So you don't have to change what you're using today or where you work to get benefit of the Zywave Apex. It fits where you're doing it today. What we want to first talk about here is really in that core benefit of the MCP, so the Model Context Protocol. So this is how you connect using into AI. So there's no new app that you guys need, no new logins, no new tools. It's things that you're exploring with today and using inside of Claude, Copilot, ChatGPT. Your producer simply asks a question or your service member, and the AI calls Zywave Apex MCPs and it returns the answer inside the tool that they already have open. On the carrier side, it's very similar. The loss control reps can query and look at things. Your analysts can pull data back. So all directed into the workflow that they're doing today. All of this is backed by the same security that you are familiar with today with Zywave. We're using OAuth 2.0. It's tenant, fully auditable. We're governing. We know what you're doing. So it's the way that we need insurance industry needs today. So this MCP is very powerful. And it's hard to visualize exactly what it means. So I'm going to show you this. So I am logged into Claude. So we are here at Zywave. I'm going to be showing you today inside of Claude. It works very much the same inside of your Copilot, inside of ChatGPT, into the versions that you have that allows you to have MCP connections. So for those of you that are doing this, you go onto your settings, you go onto your connectors, and this is where you have the ability to connect. Most of you guys have connected in to maybe your Microsoft tools or into some other solution that you have. Now you can simply connect right into Zywave to get the same data and content and the workflows that you get every day inside of Zywave right inside of your tools. So I'm going to start with something simple. I'm going to go back and forth. I'm mostly going to do it today as a producer or someone in the service, mostly in the producer space, but you can visualize if you're a carrier, how you can do this, or even as a service member, just put yourself in those shoes. I'm going to go back and forth between commercial lines and benefits. You can do this with personal lines, and you can get really deep. Just think about everything that you know, the value of Zywave today and the things that you're doing in the insurance intelligence world and the data and the concepts. All of that is available. And we'll just go from there. We're going to start out with find me self-funded employers in Virginia with 200 to 500 employees offering medical and dental plans. Right? Previously in the past, you're going to go through lots of different places to find this list. You're going to go maybe into MyEdge, or you're going to do something, and you're going to filter all these filters, and it, can be exhausting, and then you get a list. I'm simply going to click the button, type it in, then click a button. And what's going to happen is it's going to go through and it's going to look into Zywave and it's going to pull all that. So while it's doing that, it found my tools, it's searching the companies, it's doing all of those requests. I'm going to let that run because it'll take 90 seconds or so. And I'm going to switch over to something I did here on a little bit earlier around hospitality. I am a producer that Sherry talked about earlier that is still coming up. I'm maybe getting validated, or maybe I am an expert in the field and I just want a refresher. And I'm going to say, I'm meeting with owners of the hospitality group in North Charleston here in South Carolina next week. And I want 5 non obvious coverage gaps specific to that industry that makes me sound like a really smart producer. I want to be really prepared for this. So it's going to run through hospitality of North Charleston. It is going to look at content. So we know the hospitality of North Charleston is in the 1 million to 10 million range. It's based in North Charleston, South Carolina here. It has hotel exposure. So it's going to look for that. So it came back with 5 pieces of recommended content on that. And so I simply just asked it, yes, download those. And it's going to open it up, and it's going to open it into a Word doc that then I can go and change. I could have asked it to open it up into a PDF, whatever I need to then prepare myself for the meeting by simply just saying, I have a meeting next week. Find me content. If I didn't like these, I could have asked for more. So it's a great way to connect how you're doing this today. And what's so important is this content is backed up not just by the generic internet searches and going out there. It's rooted into the intelligence that that you have trusted with Zywave. Thinking about my edge and understanding who that prospect was and data around it. It could go and find data that is backed by our content writers, our professionals that are checking every day and checking to make sure that it's there. So it found me 3 here so I could start to see. Here's a company in the city in Virginia, the EIN, the phone number, their revenue range, who their current broker is today. And it's going to start to prompt me and ask me to help. Do you want to find who the decision maker is? Yes. And complete a research brief. And it's going to go back on those 3 companies, find me who their key contacts are, and a research brief. So you can see it's hitting Zywave. You see our little logo there, and it's going and getting that company contacts and doing. So it's a trusted source that you have. I'm going to go do a couple others here while that runs. Here's one earlier I looked for, and this searched Zywave for construction companies in Alabama that were between 100 and 250 employees that could be underinsured on workers' comp. I wanted to know who their current broker is and their list of benefits broker. So it gave me a list. It started to run through it. I want research briefs. I got 2 research briefs on this. I asked, okay, can you actually do one for the shark company as well and web concrete? And all of it comes back with, takes about 2 minutes to go and do this research brief where it's going out into all of the information that we have around Zywave. It does web searches. I can easily open up a link. And inside of there, I'm going to find out all sorts of information about web construction or concrete. I'm going to find out their DOT and their OSHA violations that they had, any property and hazard characteristics around there, their recent news, why they've been in the news recently. And then most importantly, I'm going to come up with sales strategies, again, to get to that producer that might be newer. Maybe you're going into a new area, you're going into new construction. Maybe it's a new producer that you have, or maybe somebody that just wants to kind of up their skills, get more growth this year because they have a huge sales goals. And I can see sales strategies around fleet safety. I can see it around product liability that they're doing, around their concrete, multiple location business interruption coverage plans, workforce protection, all of these things that as a good producer, you should be talking to your customers about right there at your fingertips on why it matters, talking points, and value. So it's a great way to interact. And let me go back to, what was I doing? Hospitality? Nope. Self-funded. Yep. Here's my self-funded ones that I asked for before. It's working on the briefs, gave me who they were, can give me their direct phone numbers. So it's a great way to have all of this right there at your fingertips. So we talked about the 2 paths, right? So you saw me write a prompt. Here was another example of find the VPs of a finance company that's between 10 million plus. and maybe they have a certain carrier, they have multiple locating, maybe they're a competing broker, lots of different ideas that you can prompt in here, just like you're talking. It allows you to have that natural conversation to query against MyEdge. It can look at your book of business, it scores intent. Some of the things I didn't show you today was I could have asked it to look at my ideal customer profile based off what I'm doing. Draft emails. So lots of different things that can happen inside of what the MCPs can do. So here's what that agent can help you do. It can help query against MyEdge. Query against MyEdge. It can filter your book of business. And it's all things that you can do to do that. And actually, the next slide might even do it a little better. So, all right. So I showed you today, and the steps are focused around mostly in the prospecting space. If you don't have and you're not familiar and you're not comfortable with Claude or Copilot or ChatGPT and those things I just talked about today, you also can use our specialized UI in conjunction, separate or together. And this is our producer agent. We launched this back in February. So you heard me talk about it earlier. But this is the producer agent that goes through steps in a sequence to automate and really get your entire prospecting workflow. So the first step, and all of this can flow into what I just showed you in Claude, is it will analyze your book of business. We have an ecosystem where we integrate not into just our agency management systems, but our others out there to pull in your accounts, contacts, and information important about your current book of business. We go through and choose what your ideal customer profile is, or you can manually choose it, sort of like I did today in some of the chats. And this is where you can be most successful. It's then going to scan through millions of MyEdge records. So it's going to look at businesses, maybe households, to then score which one have most likely for you to win. Maybe there's buying intent, like maybe it's a renewal date. Maybe they switch brokers. Maybe they had some OSHA violations. What are the things that you should talk about? You're going to select who you want to talk to. We're going to build a research brief for each prospect so that you don't have to. Today you probably spent a ton of time going through the internet, going through things to find it, and now it's automated with the click of a button. The next step is going to pull in Zywave content and draft. I did not show you this within the MCPs, but it can do this, is it has a one-on-one email. So if I was prospecting David and Sherry, each of them would get a different email because they have different business problems. They're different companies. Even though they're both in construction, they have different ones. We're going to send out those sequences. And then ultimately, they can book that integration right into your Outlook so they can book and you can have your meetings ready for the next day. All of this is helping you and the producers, work on it. It is something that is still very human. As you can see, I was talking to it the whole way, the same process. The producer is staying in the loop. They have the ability to review, approve, and launch it. So yes, this completely automates it for the producers to stay in the loop, right? So they can review it, they can approve it, launch it, and the agents do the heavy lifting. And this really helps with those problems we just talked about at the beginning, that administrative work of going to lots of different systems and lots of disconnected things all into a single place for do that. So as I mentioned, we launched this earlier this year, and since then we've done over 21,000 sequences with open rates that are far above the industry average. So 36% of open rates, the deliverability is there. It's very high with premium contacts between email and phone numbers that are provided to you. The click-through rates, because we're adding content that is important for the prospect, or maybe it's a suspect to a prospect, that content that you're attaching has a 64% open rate. That's amazing. So we're super excited about that. These are well above industry averages. They're following that, the best methods that a producer would do today, and it's targeted outreach. It's not just me up here saying this, even though I love it. My team built it. We've got it out to the market. It's those things. We have 2 customers here, right? Chris really is talking, one of our early adopters that is doing this. They've said 10 hours a week in their administrative tasks by using a tool like this and really helping get that suspect to a prospect. Kyle from an agency is really talking about how the writing style sounds like him with all the customizations that you can make like that. It's saving his. It's helping get um, those cold leads to warm leads and getting people to know them, building their brand, getting that information behind them. So super excited for these guys and what's happening out there. And with the producer agent, you can step up, get these sequences running, and really turn that warm lead for you to focus on into converting its pipeline. All right. So that was the producer agent. So that's helping you win the business, right? Getting the new logos. Sherry's going to talk about how I save it.
All right. So,
Okay.
like Rose said, super excited for the producer agent. So, the new business, super important, but so is saving or keeping that renewal business, right? So, producer agent wins that new business. Advisor agent's going to keep and grow that book you already have. So, every agency has personal line renewals that are hitting in the next 90 days. Right now, most agencies answer the question of which ones do I need to have a conversation with first based on feel or whoever called last. And with 57% of personal lines clients shopping at a renewal, that's a significant risk of renewal. So how do you change that? So Advisor Agent shifts this, right? By scanning the full personal lines renewal book 90 days ahead. We run predictive quotes against replacement carriers and flag protection gaps and endorsement opportunities for each account, all before your producer has ever picked up the phone. This runs on real TurboRater carrier data. So the carriers represented in the data are the ones actually surfacing when the agent is doing the work. That is a meaningfully different position for a carrier than just being one of several options to a producer that when the producer happens to remember. So let me walk you through what's really happening here and how this works. It's 5 steps. So first, identify, right? Continuously monitor those in-force AMS data and flag every account entering that 90-day renewal window. Then we've got to prioritize, right? What do we work on? How do I think of all of these renewals? So this prioritization scores every renewal by composite opportunity, the premium delta, and the time to renewal driving that ranking. So the book becomes a daily action cue, not just something you're reacting to. We then enrich and sync that policy detail, and prior to rater quotes brings that in, that runs predictive quotes against those replacement carriers. Next step, you got to analyze, right? So it presents every carrier quote side by side against the expiring policy, highlighting differences so the producer walks in knowing exactly what to lead with. Last, you got to engage, right? So the engagement is generating a personalized outreach email that's grounded in actual quote results, and the producer reviews and sends it in one click. The producer is in the loop, right? The human is in the loop in this case. We're not replacing the agent. We're not replacing the producer. We're enabling your producers to do more. This human in the loop by design is the producer owning that client relationship.
And really, there we have it. Zywave Apex MCP, Producer Agent, and Advisor Agent on the first AI platform built specifically for insurance distribution. Just to add on to what Sherry was just saying, if you remember one thing from this presentation, it's this. With Zywave Apex, you automate the best prospecting and renewal processes for every producer and service member on your team, and you do it where they already work. that's the platform. Maybe we have time for a question or two. Rose and Sherry, do you see anything in the chat that piques your interest?
Um, so is our data being used by Zywave? Um, no, your data is not being used for things like who, this stuff that I showed today. Your data would be used if you want to know what your ideal customer profile is that would be individual for you. So, yes, it is not used for many of the things there that we saw around the prospecting that we shared. It's rooted into the things we do today, but it would be for determining your individual customer profile that stays within your instance that is there. Any tips on AMS cleanup to maximize the use of Apex? Yes, our professional services team has it set up ready to go to help you clean up your AMS to be able to take advantage of this. We can use enrichment through MyEdge. They have a whole service as a part of the implementation and onboarding of this that we can help you clean up your AMS. Again, we have integrations to our own management systems with Partner Platform, Brokerage Builder, and Agency Matrix, or we can also have integrations into other AMS systems out there and click yes, I'd like a demo of it, and we can provide all the full list of the integrations.
So I've got one out there, Rose, that there's two questions to it, but one is very specifically advisor agent related, and that's how does it work with employee benefits? So today, the advisor agent, we're in early adopter right now. We're launching it with personal lines, with auto. We will be expanding, right? Fast follow to auto will be home and other personal lines. We'll also be adding small commercial as well as benefits in the coming months. So be on the lookout for advisor agent to expand. It does pull from our TurboRater benefits CPQ as well as MGA Hub and commercial CPQ products. Rose, the second question on that one might be an interesting one for you on the content. Is Zywave HIPAA compliant with the content that it's creating?
Yes. Lots of things around that. And, we can talk about the individual information that you're asking about. But yes, there is HIPAA compliance across the entire system that we take advantage of.
Another question on advisor agent was, is the only way to get predictive quotes if the carrier is in TurboRater? So no, the predicted quote will generate even if it's not a carrier on TurboRater. But as you move into that RC1 and that direct quote, the carrier does need to be a part of the Zywave CPQ ecosystem. And as you know, we have over 300 carriers today that are on TurboRater. And if you think about the larger ecosystem across all lines of business, and we're constantly growing. So an easy way to get carriers expanded is to reach out to your carrier marketing partner and let them know that this is the ecosystem you'd love for their rates to return on. And we'll be able to have that conversation and get them connected pretty quick.
There's a bunch of questions around line of business that kind of are floating through some of this. So as maybe we can address that kind of quickly on some of it. The prospecting that I shared at the beginning around the producer agent or the MCP tools are line of business, all three lines. They do benefits, they do commercial lines, and they do personal lines. I showed you a little bit between commercial lines and benefits. I did not show any personal lines, but it has the capabilities to do that as well. Many of those sequences that I talked about that we've launched since the beginning of the year are in personal lines. So going out there and warming up your lead for personal lines, we can do that. And then Sherry mentioned about the advisor agent and the journey that it's going on. There will be additional MCP tools and everything that is released throughout 2027. So make sure that you are keeping up to date. That will also continue through the 3 different lines of what you need.
This is great. Thank you all so much for sticking with us through this presentation. To learn more about Zywave Apex and how it can help you achieve scalable growth, go ahead and click the button in our webinar. Check out the link in our follow-up email that will hit your inbox tomorrow, or visit zywave.com. If you want to hear more from us, you can join us on August 12th at noon Eastern for our summer launch webinar. Once again, thank you so much for joining us to hear about Zywave Apex, and we hope to hear from you all soon.